The gameplay of The Devil Within has been revealed! What secrets will it contain? Let's give it a look and find out! Before we do though, yes, I saw the Will Biles interview where he revealed that they're working on their next large-scale horror game. There's no need for a whole video about it though, because the only thing we know is that it won't center on teens. Not much to go on, other than Wendigo, werewolf, or teenager. It could basically be about anything. So let's just put a pin in that until there's more things to go on. Hopefully it runs better than the Quarry did on my machine, let me tell ya. Also, yes, that globe has a weird line down the middle where that looks misaligned. We're all just gonna have to live with that and try not to get too distracted by it. Now, on with the video! Here's another Man of Medan painting. What will these be in the real game? Maroon slacks, brown shoes, and a confident stride? Is this the killer walking? Bad enough you got these mannequins, do they need to be bondage mannequins too?
I'm telling you, this is gonna be great.
You said that in Topeka.
Since the cast are part of a serial killer documentary show, why were they in Topeka? The only real famous Kansas killer is BTK, but he operated around Wichita. What went wrong with the shoot? Did they go to the wrong city? I knew they took the wrong turn at Albuquerque.
I do enjoy seeing a familiar face.
So this will be the line the curator says if you've got a save file. Also note that this mirror, directly opposite the fireplace, is a new addition to the curator's library. This suggests that the mirror must be important to the plot or themes somehow. Will one character be another's dark reflection? Is Grantham Dumas someone's twin? Or is it a set of twins pretending to be one dude, allowing for a slasher movie finale where the killer comes back after being killed without embracing the supernatural? Maybe there's even a good twin like House of Wax. While the director is talking, you can actually hear what the curator is saying. Granted, my ears aren't fantastic, but this...
House of Ashes. The curator watches everything your characters do, and he's likely to pass an acerbic comment on how things are going.
Seems like he's saying, now where is our wayward host, Mr. Dumas? This would suggest that this is a clip from the end of Act 1 when all the characters have arrived at the hotel and gotten settled in, just as they realize that something strange is going on.
Holding on to a little guilt, are we? Hoping that this time around you might be able to save them all.
And this is obviously the line he says when you restart the game after completing it the first time. Interesting that while the curator's library has always been fairly dark and gloomy, they're going all in on the spookiness this time. The lights are out, it's a dark night outside, everything is bathed in the glow of a roaring fireplace. Will something get thrown into that fireplace? The director even full-on lets us know that perhaps the curator will have some tricks up his sleeve. Is this just a reference to collecting obols, or are they slyly driving at a connection to the plot and killer? Here's Holmes himself. Let's compare this to the shot from the trailer. As you can see, from the mustache, the ears, and hat, he looks like the same guy. So either the shot is from the prologue or a flashback, or the killer somehow looks exactly like Holmes. The newspaper's text talks about how the World's Fair is almost over, which suggests the prologue is set in October 1893, assuming that's where the paper appears. Apparently the World's Fair closed on October 30th, right before Halloween. Well, this is a deeply creepy image. Note the two people in the background of the shot there. Are those the characters we'll be playing as in the prologue? While unlikely, wouldn't it be cool if one of the players was controlling Holmes? The director talks quite a bit about the legend of Holmes, with the hotel being full of secret rooms and death traps when, of course, those are largely tall tales. Holmes was a mostly generic sociopath con man who killed for money, and there's not much evidence to suggest that the building was anything but a set of shops on the ground floor, offices and residence on the second floor, and a few hotel rooms on the third. We also get this shot of Holmes in the same murder getup that the killer wears in the main game, although he understandably lacks the latex gloves. The director name checks a few horror influences like the Saw franchise, Halloween, Psycho, Friday the 13th, and The Shining, which gives us a checklist of things to watch out for when hunting Easter eggs in the game. Then we get an outline of the game's story. The main characters are the crew of The Architects of Murder show, and their season finale is about H.H. Holmes. So kind of a meta connection to the Dark Pictures. They're also out of money, so a heretofore unknown museum to Holmes built in the hotel inspired by the murder castle, only much bigger and more impressive? Sounds like a perfect filming location. Desperate people who can't say no to a job getting murdered? Looks like we've got a Session 9 type situation to look forward to, along with all the other references. There's a fun comment about the fact that no one knows what the inside of the hotel looks like, and if the place really has exact recreations of parts of it, that would be something of a coup. Of course, how would you be able to prove that's what you built without access to the original plans? So maybe that will be a plot point. Also, not psyched to see them standing in front of a Russian flag in this shot, although I suppose there are worse ways of showing that something awful is about to happen. Here in the car, we've got two necklaces. The techie seems to be wearing a butterfly, likely a nod to Until Dawn and the butterfly effect system. Kate's necklace looks like a mask. Is she hiding something? We get a bunch of Medan art and a few new paintings here as well. So much art to fill in! Here we've got another bit of Medan art and a suggestion that the counter on the wall is going to start at 179. If this is a death counter, having 4 digits seems almost excessively ambitious. Good selection of creepy locations here, whether it's dead-end rooms or the old-timey operating room. This shot is fantastic. The guy seeing a bunch of mannequins arranged just like the dinner scene they'd taken part in earlier in the afternoon. Great concept. It's nice to have an official cast list so I don't have to refer to the characters by job any longer. There's Charlie, whose company produces Architects of Murder, Kate, the host, Mark, the cameraman and Kate's ex, Aaron, the intern and audio supervisor, who's also wearing a necklace that's a little hard to make out, and finally there's Jamie, the techie, who's obviously the most expendable member of the crew. After all, even if a tech dies, when you show up the next day, there's another one, same hammer, same tool belt, might as well be the same person. Here's Jamie finding the letter announcing that the show is being kicked out of its studio space. Why would Charlie have brought this along with them? Could the killer have grabbed it and planted it to increase tensions and get people to turn on one another? It's great to see that instead of a compass this time, we get a set of blueprints. Very creative thing to do with the decision wheel. Also weird that there's no say nothing option. Will there be forced choices in this game? Every now and then, it's important to pause and note how cool it is that graphics are now good enough that we can actually look at the reflection of the table in Charlie's glasses. The video then covers the new movement options. Gone is walk slightly faster, because now the maps are big enough to justify running. There's climbing, hiding, crossbeam balances, all raising the question of whether these are going to have concrete effects on gameplay. Specifically, can you get killed because of poor performance? Right now, it's been because of decision making or failing a quick time event, but will you get killed if you fail to run down a hallway fast enough or fall off a balance beam? That might end up feeling cheap. Check it out, it's the globe from the director's interview space, which looks an awful lot like the curator's. And tell me more about the gun book, please. We get some information about the inventory system, including that everyone gets a job-specific tool. Charlie has a mail business card for jimmying locks. Mark has a camera to record evidence like they said they were going to do in the quarry before it was presumably cut. Kate's is a little disappointing, a pencil to reveal information on notepads. Is this a thing where Dume has set up messages as part of his evil game? Jamie has a rewiring tool, and given how many remote operated traps have already appeared in the game's trailers, that seems super useful. Aaron has a microphone which allows her to hear through walls, which will be super useful as well for knowing whether or not the killer is lurking around as you're exploring. Apparently, in addition to a wide variety of puzzles, players are going to have to move through a maze. Will we be able to use Kate's pencil to map out this maze? There's a slight chance this could get tedious, if not. Now let's move on to the gameplay demo set in the spa underneath the hotel. Things start off with a recording announcing that the spa will turn its customers into works of art, a reference to the "Your Death, My Art" tagline for the game. Right away, we find a corpse who has an audio file of his death next to his body. He also has an ID card which crucially has a number written next to the name, 11. Is that the order of the death, or is it relevant to a puzzle? Apparently this hotel was built well before the 30s, since by 34 it already needed to be completely rehabilitated. Looks like 90 years later they finally go around to doing the repairs, or more likely, use the idea of doing repairs to lure a bunch of people out to the island to get murdered. The stalker makes an appearance. Yeah, the curator comparisons are getting undeniable. I was wondering how the game was going to justify these people splitting up when they know there's a killer running around, but if every door can have a gate in it and every floor can collapse at any time, that shouldn't be too difficult to manage.
What? This wasn't in the script.
That wasn't in the script! Oh, poor voice lady, you didn't know you were going to get murdered. That's why you should only ever do voiceover jobs via the internet. New collectible alert! In addition to the previously mentioned obols, we'll be looking for Grantham Dume's business cards. Will each one feature a different one of his fake jobs that he used to lure people into a situation where they can be murdered? This letter on KD General Contractor's stationery has Monica quitting immediately. An actual attempt to leave, or is Dume writing a fake note so that people won't find it suspicious when Monica goes missing because of the whole stabbed to death in the next room thing? Oh, so these aren't corpses, but rather mannequins depicting the circumstances and causes of their deaths. Does that mean if someone gets killed in your playthrough, that Dume will later unveil a diorama recreating that death? Also, she's victim number 9. Will recreating the sequence of events that got all the contractors killed be a section of the clue board? It's a double scare! First, the curator drops by to check on things in Raven form, and then the killer does one of his patented walk-bys. Creepy, drag away. Is this a trap we're going to have to be on the lookout for? Now we've got our first trap. Seemingly inspired by the traps from the start of Saw 4 and 7, this has two people chained together with a choice. If one doesn't pull the other into the buzzsaw before the timer runs out, they'll both be chopped up. If the theory that this is a recreation of actual murders is accurate, then we can predict that the man pulled the woman into the saw, ever so briefly, saving his own life. Apparently he was number 8, so definitely not for long. Too bad there's no corresponding ID card for the woman who got killed. Well, that's an obvious cut. Weird. Wonder what happened there. Wow, he really can't stop doing that, can he? The counter is already up to 181. So if this is a death counter, then there have to be other victims in the hotel who can get killed. There are at least 4 characters still alive in this demo, and since we saw it at 179 earlier, even if Charlie is dead, there's no way it could be up to 181 without there being bonus victims. Of course, this theory is entirely predicated on that being a death counter, but really, what else could it be? Especially with the dramatic shot of it and the musical cue. Then we get a look at the first hard decision. Kill Aaron or Kate? Note that there's no opportunity to explore the room, just the choice, so unless there was something players were supposed to do before this scene, then choosing Aaron is clearly the wrong choice. What's the right one? Do nothing? Or is it a situation where the killer has some particular interest in Kate, so if you choose her, it ends with no one dying, like sending the buzzsaw after Josh in Until Dawn? Or could they be trying to play with our expectations like they did with Man of Medan and are going to kill off one of their major characters right out of the gate? Unlikely for them to do it twice, but there's a chance. So that's it for the gameplay presentation. Lots of stuff to be super excited about now that we're just weeks away from the release. I wonder how many trailers and features we'll see before now and then. Be sure to check here for a breakdown of it all. That's all for now. Be sure to subscribe here to catch my latest coverage of The Devil in Me, and check out my channel in the description below for all sorts of weird, wild, and sometimes even unreleased games. I'm the Unabridged Gamer, signing off. Cheers!